It's getting good now. We're down to we're under 10 anyway. In this example, we're going to look at the case structure. So you'll recall from earlier, we would have our nested if else chain, or we would have an if else chain, or we would have a simple structure of if statements. But, if you think about it, that can really expand on the sheer number of lines of code that you have. The switch is a much more compact, condensed, and easier to maintain decision structure, so long as you have created a mnemonic that the switch can use. So do recall that a switch can work with primitive data types, so like characters. It can work with integers. Please don't get stupid and run it with like double and floating point numbers, because for the most part, that's not going to be something we're going to really rely on the switch statement to do. That's like one fancy bridge too far. And here we are seeing it work with a character. And what essentially we have is inside of the switch, we would have a case and then what it is that we are checking for. So in this case, we are checking for the uppercase A. In this case, we are checking for the uppercase B. In this case, we are checking for the uppercase C. One thing to remember is there should be a default case at the bottom. Usually the default serves as your catch-all. So if I am looking for an A, a B, or a C, that means that anything else should attract the attention of my default. You did not enter an A, a B, or a C. Now, one of the areas where I always forget to fork it, one of the areas that people forget about until it bites you is the idea of the break inside of your statement. Without this break, you'll do what's called falling through. If case A is evaluated, it will indeed output you entered A, but then it's going to keep falling through here and displaying the rest of my cases as well. So there's my case A, and it's going to, you entered A, B, or C. So if I run this again, just to prove, if I do B, A is not a true statement. So this case will not be evaluated as true, and it will not therefore be displayed. However, B is true. But without those breaks, that's going to fall through, and case C is going to just execute all the way on down. So once we go back through and we add our break statements, now if I enter A, we're going to get only the output we have there that's desired. So do remember the break statement there as well. You can also use, statement blocks here, and that works out just fine. So here we go, and let's get that to where it should be. That is going to work if you've got multiple statements lined up inside of your case structure. So if you think about things like menus, right? So a menu structure for output to a user, a switch statement is fantastic for that, because we can very, very easily get a user to enter a number or a character, and we can very, very easily use that number or character to display the output that we want. And as a matter of fact, we're going to see an example of that here shortly to help remind you of a menu-driven system for C++.